Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to change the drum brake assembly on a Mitsubishi L200. Right, so this is my first time doing this job, so you're going to join me with, just have Dad banging in the background, shall I? Have him doing everything. So, like I said, it's going to be my first time doing this. Dad's in the background banging already, doing something else, probably knackering my truck. And we'll whip off the drum covers and have a look at what we're working with. Should we have a look at what we're working with? Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, of course, take off your wheel. Now, once your wheel's off, you've got the actual drum itself. Now, you can see here, our drum's in fairly good condition, and out here in Portugal, actually, the weather's really nice, so we don't have so much rain and rust on the cars. Now, if your car's in England or a damp sort of environment, quite often, you'll find that if these haven't been changed recently, they will be really quite corroded and rusty, and they can actually get seized on here really bad. So a little tip that I found is to find two little screws that fit in the threads here, and basically once you put them in, you can screw them in like so. You turn these, they're actually going to be pushing against the hub, which is behind here. And what they do is they actually bring the whole drum forwards, and then you'll just be able to slide the whole thing off like so. Okay, so now moving in a little bit closer, you can see this is the setup of the drum brakes. Now what we've got is two springs up here, we've got a little spring down here, and we've also got the handbrake cable which comes out just down here. So the first thing I'm going to do is start by removing these springs. So with a flathead screwdriver, basically just ping these off. Like that, there's one. So this one next, there's the next spring. So now what we're doing is coming down to the bottom, we're going to remove the handbrake cable, which is right here. So the best way I found is to actually push this metal piece in, which is very easy, and lift up, like so. There we go, and that just pops out like that. Now that metal piece is free. Okay, now by removing the two top springs, basically what we can do is we can bring these apart now and lower it down. So leaving these two pins in stopped all the whole assembly from falling. Pinch, turn, and there you go. Now the left side is off, so we can put these parts to the side. And now we can remove the adjuster pin, and we can actually remove this little piece which holds on the spring. Push the pin through back, and it comes out right at the back of the shield here, and that comes out like so. And now this whole part is free. All we got to do is bring it down and detach it from that last hook. There we go, we're here. Slide that pin out from the back, and there we have it. And there's our assembly fully off. Okay, so our job now is to clean this with brake cleaner. You can see all the greases and dirt coming off. Right then, okay, so what we're going to do is there's only one piece we need to transfer off of the old pad to the new one, which is this arm right here, which holds the handbrake cable. So there's a little C-clip on here, which you can probably see, and we've just got to take that off, and then we can remove the arm. There's one, there's two, right, tap, right. There we go. Now my new kit didn't come with any C-clips, so I'm going to actually save this one and reuse it. And this arm we can just take off, which is a wiggle, and off it comes. Okay, so now we're going to attach this to the new one, which is a slot over on there. There we are. Just pinch that shut a bit so it won't come off. And now I've got a new kit with springs and everything in. So what we got is the springs, two new pins, and this kit actually didn't come with the correct amount of the spring sort of holders. It only came with two, and of course there's one at each end of the spring, and there's two springs, so I needed four of these, but it only came with two. So I'm going to have to reuse two of the old ones, which is a bit of a shame, but I can make do, because the old ones, luckily for me, are in good condition. They're just a bit dirty, but that's no problem. So what we'll do is we will begin by attaching our adjuster. So what I'm going to do is put it back together, and I'm going to use some copper grease to put on the threads, just a little bit, just to make sure that it doesn't end up getting corroded and you can't adjust your brakes. That wouldn't be ideal. And it's actually a left thread, and then I'm going to undo it sort of 3 or 4 turns like that. And the other end just sits on, so it spins. So as it's just metal on metal, a little bit of copper grease on there to get that nice on there like so. See? There we go. So that's back together. Now the next piece, this is the actual, this is spring loaded, and what this does is this stops the adjuster from turning. So you turn it and it clicks like that. And then once it clicks into position where you like, that locks it and stops it from going the other way. So this is the other piece which goes on the back. You can see this pin that we put the C-clip on. This is actually just a swing arm, so it just sits on there like that, see? And it just swings like this. So that goes on the other side. And then the only spring I'm going to attach at this current moment is the slightly thicker spring which goes on at the back. Okay, so I've turned it round just to give you a bit of reference to see what I'm doing. And what this spring does is this attaches from this little, oh, I've knocked it off. It attaches to this swinging arm and also into the second hole here. So what we do is we'll get this roughly into position like so, and it's sort of latched in there. Then what we can do is get our adjuster pin, which you can see the end has 2 grooves. Now the slightly wider groove goes over the thick piece here, which is this big arm and the actual brake itself, and the thin piece goes on the swing arm. So it goes in this little gap right here, you can see, like that, and it grabs that swing arm. And now what we're going to do is we're going to try and get this in. Now turn it at an angle, bit of pressure, and then clip it on like that. So there's no way that this can come apart now unless I stretch it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and get this on the car. Okay, so with our setup here, you can see the spring here is at the back. Now the reason we've done the back one first is because when it's on, you can't get to it very easily. And what we're going to do here is we're going to basically put this around. So I'm just going to wiggle that through like that. And now you can see we're pretty close to this. Now we've got each end of this pushing piston here has a groove which this piece of each brake pad sits in. So what we're going to do is we're going to get one on there, and then we're going to stretch and get the other one on the other side. So it's just like that, fairly simple. Okay, so now you've got each piece sitting comfortably in there. Get it roughly into position, don't worry too much at this moment. What we're going to do now is we're going to get these locator pins through here so then the assembly can't fall off. Okay, so starting on this side, it doesn't matter which side, but I'm going to put the pin through, then you've got to locate it, which can be easier said than done sometimes, but it's there. You can see it's come through. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our first spring holder, which goes on. There's a little way, there's only one way it can do, 180 degrees. Then we get the spring, spring's ready, and then we get the final piece which actually holds it all together. So we get that roughly in the right position, find out which way it is, and you just push, excuse my hand, and you turn it 90 degrees, and there's actually, you can see, tiny little way that it sits nicely there. And that is holding this left side in now. So it's exactly the same procedure on the right, there we go. Okay, now with those two on, we are on the final stretch. Okay, so you can see here, these brakes have to sit, they sort of slot in behind this piece right here. Now, with them in like that, what we can do is attach the little spring. So we put it in, you hook it in like this, facing sort of towards you or away from you, depends which way you're looking. And then, all we do, I'll do it this way so it's easier for you to see, is you get a flathead screwdriver, hook it inside, put it slightly in the hole that you want to get the spring in, and you basically just pull and it snaps into place just like that. And the final one, which is this bugger. So it goes in the same hole as the rear spring at the back here, and the way to look at it is the kink in this bit of metal actually is to avoid the sort of tension ring here, that little clicking cog. So I'm going to begin by putting the smaller end in, as I have more access up here, and it's exactly the same procedure with the screwdriver. And put it in the hole. Now it can take a couple of attempts, be very careful of course. There we go, hooked itself nicely in, like that. And you can see it just overlaps the other hook like this. Doesn't matter if it's underneath or above. And that there is now the brake setup nearly complete. The last thing I have to do is the handbrake cable. My whole tactic is, which I'm not a professional, so if you know an easier way, please let me know. What I'm doing is I'm sliding up the spring a bit, enough to get my pliers in, like so. Obviously being careful with the cable. Then I'm pushing it out, and it completely crushes your skin like that. No fun. Okay, so come on. Push that in. Down, yes! Okay, so I don't know if you saw that, but that took me a long time. Okay, so this is it completed. Now all we need to do is actually put the drum back on and we're done. Other than, once the drum's on, you need to adjust these so they're just about nearly touching. You need a tiny weeny bit of resistance so you know that these are literally touching the drum. So they're as useful and effective as they can be. Now, a lot of cars behind the dust shield have a little hole so you can get a flathead screwdriver and turn it, and then you can adjust and feel what it's like. This car does not, so I'm guessing, this is a complete guess, what you have to do is put the drum on, see how it feels, take it off, adjust it, put it back on, see how it feels, take it off, adjust it. That's what I'm going to do, so let's do that now. So I'm just going to go over and get the new drum. So here we are. You can see these are freshly powder coated chrome drums. Now we did this just for our own amusement and to protect them a little bit from the elements. And the chrome has come up beautifully, I must say. So thank you, Dad, for doing these for me because they look wicked. So I'm going to put them on. Okay, so it's not even close at the moment. So what I'm going to have to do is shrink these down. Right then. That is on its minimum setting. It's like it's actually its tightest setting. Oh. Oh. So its minimum setting, like the smallest that could possibly get, is perfect. You can hear, and there's literally no resistance on it. So that means it's perfect. Okay, so now I've got my drum adjusted. What I'm going to do is actually just put a tiny bit of copper grease on here all the way around, so in the future it doesn't get corroded on and it can come off nice and easily. So hopefully you guys have learned something. I certainly have. This is the first time I've ever attempted this and it was actually really good fun. Quite interesting, bit tricky. The only thing I really didn't like was that handbrake cable, but once I got over that, it's all right. So I'm going to go and wash my hands up and I'm going to have myself a very nice cup of coffee. So I will catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching.